You are now in tune with
Mamba Radio.
All right, what up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Brown Mamba Radio. For those of you there who don't know, my name is Jackson, and hopefully you guys are all enjoying your Wednesday so far. I know it's a little different for me to come at you guys on a Wednesday, but I figured I would, or I should ramp up the content a little bit because, basketball doesn't stop, so neither should I. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, plus, I mean, we've got two of, not just, easily the two best playoff games, not just this postseason, but two of the best playoff games, especially last night's game. Two of the best playoff games that you'll see in any postseason. It looks like I guess these teams are finally listening to all us blog boys complain about how boring and how one-sided each game has been, because like I said, these last two games on Monday and Tuesday, were just freaking incredible. It's a completely new postseason now. Both series are tied at 2-2, and starting with last night's game, Rockets Warriors, best game of the entire playoffs so far. Holy shit, an instant classic, and a huge win for the Rockets. They came out on top 95-92, and they like I said, so much going on with this game. Not only just a huge win for them, they tied the series to go back home again and make this a brand new series, essentially making it a best of three now, with the Rockets now having home court advantage. Like I said, a lot of other stuff behind that win. They got their first ever, I think, if I'm not mistaken, their first ever playoff win in Oakland, or up against Golden State in Golden State's home turf, and they snapped the Warriors 16 straight home playoff victories record or streak that they had going. So, like I said, just a big game for them. Quickly going through it, and especially it was huge for them considering how completely opposite the start of the game was. In the first quarter, the Warriors just dominated. They came out making almost everything, and literally for a while, the Rockets missed everything. It was a 12-0 run to start the game, which lasted about, a good 5 minutes almost. And then it just led to the climax of that, of the shaky start for the Rockets that they had. When James Harden, got that little cookies. He got the cookies on the inbound and, set up for a wide open three, and he just looked completely shook, didn't shoot it. Like I said, it was kind of like, I know I tweeted this, but I've never yelled at my TV so loud before for someone to shoot it. You go, shoot it, or whatever. I've never yelled so loud at my TV before. But like I said, but I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to do the whole thing where, because he thought someone was going to maybe close out on him, and he wanted to fake it, whatever, try to hit. But in doing that, by trying to fake out everyone else, he ended up faking out himself, and he got what I like to call paralysis by analysis. And like I said, he just overthought it and just didn't you know what I mean? But like I said, that's just the way that the quarter was going for the Rockets. But ever since that happened, even though the score, was pretty rough and pretty one-sided, in that first quarter, I think that moment kind of helped James Harden kind of reset himself and say, listen, don't just think too much out there. Just go out there and don't think, just do. Be like water, like Bruce Lee did. Be like water. And, like I said, it felt like James Harden just reset himself, and he, kind of started to make things a little bit more interesting towards the end. And you could feel the momentum swing a little bit into that first quarter. And like I said, the Warriors still had a big lead, but the momentum swung a little bit. And in the second quarter, like I said, that momentum just kept on rolling with the Rockets. They did what they did. They did what they do best. You know what I mean? They started to get to the line. They're knocking down some threes. And James Harden and CP3 started to get it going. They combined for 29 points in the quarter. Huge second quarter for them. It was fucking, again, climaxed in the second quarter, or the peak of that was that huge James Harden poster where he postered Draymond Green's soul, and it completely shut down Oracle. It got all the fans quiet. It shut down Twitter. Everyone on Twitter was going crazy. And like I said, just James Harden, just brought the whole fucking house down. And like I said, they fought back in the second quarter and they brought it back. You know what I mean? With a huge second quarter. But, third quarter, Chef Curry started to cook. You know what I mean? He came in there and he started doing his thing. Hit a bunch of threes. You know what I mean? It just seemed like he was scoring everything. I think he finished the quarter with 14 points. But just like I said, just dominated that third quarter. Similar to how he did in game 3. He just took advantage of everything and just like I said, it looked like he was had like an out of body experience. But in that third quarter, it was all Warriors, all Steph. But once that the clock ran out, to end the third quarter, Steph looked completely gassed. You could see he just looked drained, physically, mentally. He just looked drained, and it kind of carried over into the fourth quarter because the Warriors had easily had their worst quarter ever that they played in the fourth quarter, and it literally could not have come at a worse time. They went 3 for 18, which is not good for anybody, especially them. And then that all just led to the most crazy, intense, dramatic, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it, just the craziest last minute I can remember in a while, which I'll get to in a little bit. But it was just crazy. Like I said, it was a combination of the Warriors, like I said, just not shooting well, and the Rockets just taking advantage of it. And like I said, they eventually just came. They clawed back. They won. And like I said, and as crazy and as intense as that game and that fourth quarter or the end of that fourth quarter were, it's just like when the game finally ended, it was kind of like, wait, is the game over already? Like I said, I'm just going back to it. I'm a little, fumbling because, like I said, I'm as I'm speaking, I'm kind of replaying what's happening or what happened in that game in my head. And like I said, it was just hard to explain. It was just hard to. It's just crazy. And like I said, there was so much going on. And like I said, even though it was a good and intense and dramatic game, it just had. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know if I'm alone in this. You know what I mean? But it just had this weird vibe to it, kind of, for some reason. I don't know what it was. It was just, like I said, it was kind of like, I think it's just because it was just so weird to see the Warriors, struggle the way they did, especially at a time that they did like I said, in the fourth quarter of a deciding, not deciding, but a very important game for where they can have the opportunity to go up 3-1, going back into Houston and having the advantage for the rest of the series. But like I said, now it's that is all out the window. You know what I mean? That's completely out the window. And like I said, it's a brand new series. And I think I said, and not just the Warriors didn't play that well. And I said it felt weird, but and then going back to the box score, I mean, both teams were not playing lights out basketball by any means. Like I said, even though it was a great game and it was entertaining and it was intense and all that stuff, like I said, both teams just didn't play their A game. We've seen what their A games look like earlier in this series. We've seen both Rockets and Warriors. When they're firing on all cylinders, we know exactly what it looks like, and this was not it. And I'm like I said, I think that's probably why I had that weird feeling inside as I was watching the game. But like I said, going back to the box score, both teams, weren't like I said, they just weren't on top of their game, and actually pretty similar stats for both teams. Both teams shot 39% as a team from the field, and were about the same from three. 33% for the Warriors, 31% for the Rockets, and like I said, just completely uncharacteristic of both teams, especially considering how dynamic and how dominant on offense they are, especially from three. But yeah, both teams, just. Like I said, the score and the score reflects it. Anytime you hear a close game between the Warriors and the Rockets, you're going to think, maybe, what was it like or you hear a crazy and intense down to the wire game from the Warriors and the Rockets, you think, what was the final score, like 124 to 125 or, anywhere in the triple digits. But no, it was 95 to 92. Like I said, just uncharacteristic. James Harden, even though he finished with 30 points, 11 for 26 and 3 for 12 from 3-point land. Chris Paul himself, he finished, he was 50%, 11 but 10 for 20, 5 of 9 from 3. Everyone else, on the Rockets, Ariza, Tucker, Capella, all just almost very pedestrian numbers. 9 points for Ariza, 4 for Tucker, 8 for Capella. Eric Gordon, again, he had 14 points, but just another poor shooting night, 4 for 14, which is, not good. But like I said, same thing. You can say the same thing for the Warriors. Steph, even though he had that hot third quarter and he led the team in scoring with 28 points, he was 10 for 26, which is, not Steph-like. 3-point land, 6 for 13, even though he was making those hot threes, and again, in the third quarter, those were about it. 6 for 13 is, again, very un-Steph-like. KD, he also 27 points, but he was the most glaring, the most glaring, kind of like what's going on? Like, is something up with KD? Because it just seemed like every shot he took, he just missed, and shots he normally takes, for the most part, when he switches and he's got somebody on him, he's just gonna shoot right over him. And for the most part, he made those, and he made them pretty effortlessly early on. But later on down the stretch, he was getting those looks again. He had a guy, he had PJ Tucker on him, he's just shooting right over him. Chris Paul on him, shoot right over him. Even James Harden, he would post him up and just shoot right over him. But just they weren't falling, and and then like I said, I'm like, damn, did KD really miss that many shots? And yeah, he did. He was 9 for 24, like I said, and 1 for 5 from 3-point line. Again, just very uncharacteristic for the Warriors, very uncharacteristic for the Rockets. But the Rockets were able to hang on for a little bit longer, and like I said, they pulled this one out. And like I said, anytime, especially with the Warriors, when they have a game where they didn't shoot that well, as they did last night, it makes you ask, like I said, were they just off? Because it happens. Were they just off, or did the Rockets play really good defense? And especially considering the Rockets aren't really known for their defense, even though they did play much better defense this season. Overall, and obviously it's some combination of both. I know that. I'd probably have to go back and watch the game all over again in order to see where it was. But like I said, to the Rockets' credit, they did play good defense. At certain times, Chris Paul stepped up and he was just being a nuisance like he always is. James Harden, like I said, he had a couple, pickpockets in the second quarter that led to easy baskets. He was out there making some plays. Like I said, and you got to give credit to them, and also give credit to the Rockets for running with a 7-man rotation. You know what I mean? 7. That's it. They only played 7 guys. They only played the starting 5, and with Ariza, Tucker, Capella, CP3, James Harden. And they only went with Eric Gordon and Gerald Green off the bench. And Gerald Green played they pretty much, but if you really look at it, they really only went with 6 guys. Because Gerald Green only played for 12 minutes. Eric Gordon only played for 35. But Ariza, Tucker, Chris Paul, and James Harden all played over 40 minutes, which is insane, the Tom Thibodeau style from Mike D'Antoni. But look, he recognized that those guys he's like, listen, it's the Bill Simmons theory. It's you got to get you just have your guys, whether it's 6 guys, 7 guys, even 8 guys, but he stuck with his guys, and he just rode them out. You know what I mean? He knew that they were going to get a little extra time off for the travel day, and they had to get this win. And like I said, it paid off. But to the Warriors' credit, or in defense of the Warriors on this one, they didn't have Andre Iguodala out there. He had a knee contusion or a knee bruise. Him and James Harden, I guess, banged knees towards the end of the last game, and it just messed his knee up pretty bad. Bad enough to the point where he couldn't play. And it's as as not as poorly as Iguodala played throughout the regular season, but he definitely wasn't as effective as he has been in the past, but he's been a huge piece for them in the playoffs so far. And like I said, it showed. They really missed him out there. And not only did they miss him for his defense and maybe his little bit extra scoring, which is icing on the cake from him, but it clearly kind of threw a monkey wrench into their rotation. It kind of really messed things up a little bit. They had to play Kevon Looney earlier. They started him in the game. They had to play him a little bit more minutes, and then it forced them to go a little bit deeper on the bench. And when the deeper bench guys came in, guys like Quinn Cook, Jordan Bell, and like I said, even Nick Young had, when those guys came in, that's when the Rockets took advantage. If you look at the box score, it was when the bench, those deeper bench guys had to come in the early second quarter and the early fourth quarter. That's when the Rockets took advantage the most. That's why the Rockets, they had their biggest shooting, they had their biggest quarter in the second quarter. They put up 34 points in the second quarter, and then like I said, the Rocket or the Warriors had that horrible shooting fourth quarter, and like I said, it showed. And then on top of that, also Klay Thompson suffered a knee strain, is I guess what they're going with on the diagnosis for this so far. It looked like it could have been a lot worse. He was trying to get a loose ball, but he got his foot stepped on, and it was kind of the whole thing where he was trying to go one way, but his foot got stuck, so it kind of like pulled a little extra than it should. And he actually went to the back in the locker room, missed a little bit of time, but he came back and he ended up playing. But it clearly affected his game. He wasn't, running around the way he usually did, because Klay's known to run off screens, catch and shoot, all that stuff. It affected his jump shot. He wasn't shooting the three as well. And hopefully you want all these guys to be healthy going forward, because you want the best possible product out there on the floor. But hopefully, like I said, it won't affect him too much. But like I said, it's who knows? And we have to wait and see how it's going to affect him going forward. But again, like I said, I wanted to save this for the end. That fourth quarter, I don't know what it was, where, like I said, just so many questions going on. And, even before the last minute, I don't know if the Warriors, they panicked. I don't know what was going on, but like I said, they just looked completely discombobulated out there. I don't know if it was because they didn't have Iguodala and their lineups were a little bit different. I don't know if it was because, they had never, like I said, the Rockets, put a little bit of pressure on them. They had never felt that before. Like I said, they've felt the pressure before. They've been in these situations before. I don't know if it was that, but then, like I said, they felt like, from the TV, watching on TV, you could feel the anxiety that the Warriors had. They were taking bad shots. They were forcing shots early in the shot clock. And like I said, part of it too was because, the bench really couldn't hold on to that lead that they had. And, maybe the starters, when they came back in, felt that they're like, shit, we got to try to get this thing going. We got to start hitting some threes, get the crowd back into it. You know what I mean? Because that's always a big advantage for them, is getting the crowd into it. You know what I mean? That's part of the Warriors' game plan, is knocking on those big crazy threes. But I always say it, you live by that stuff, you die by that stuff. And in this case, they died by it. They kept trying to, like I said, forcing shots early in the shot clock. Just, like I said, ugly shots, and just very, like I said, very, very uncharacteristic of the Warriors. And it all led up to that last essentially the last possession for the Warriors, where it was, I think it was like 3 or 22 seconds left. So they had the Rockets were up by 3. Well, the Rockets were up by 2. It was 94-92, and Draymond Green gets the rebound with, like I said, like just a little over 20 seconds left. And people were saying they should have called timeout right then. Maybe they should have, because, like I said, they just to kind of slow things down and to try to calm them down, because, like I said, they looked pretty flustered and discombobulated out there. But like I said, I personally don't think they should have. They could have, but I don't think they should have right away. Because, like I said, I don't think they really had to. Part of my thinking for that is you just don't want to give, you don't want to allow the defense to get a chance to set up, and for them to also, get a chance to recoup themselves, gather themselves, figure out what they want to do. So, like I said, and especially because they're the freaking Warriors, man. They got 2 of the best 5 players in the NBA on the floor right there, and arguably 4 of the best 20 guys in the NBA on the floor right there. So, like I said, they can figure it out. They should have been able to make it work. Draymond got it, and he gave it to KD, who brought it up, and for whatever reason, he gave it up. Like, he wasn't really pressed or anything, but he gave it up. And he gave, and I don't know why he gave it up in the first place. And this call, and I tweeted this also, this calls back to the thing that Bill Simmons says. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm a huge Bill Simmons fan. But it's the same thing that not just Bill Simmons, but a lot of people are saying it, and a lot of people are thinking it, is that the thing that separates the good guys from the great guys, and I'm not saying that KD isn't great, because he's great, we all know that, but just that extra level, that extra level that MJ and LeBron and Kobe and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, those guys were at, was that extra level of, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm the fucking man. Give me the ball. I'm going to fucking get a basket right now. And that's what the Warriors needed KD to do in that situation. He had the ball. All they had to do was just stop, reset, let him go ISO one-on-one with somebody, or try to get a mismatch somehow on a pick and roll or whatever. But just let KD have it. And I get it. He wasn't hot that night. He was 9 for 24. But like Kobe says, man, shoot or shoot. And, you could be 0 for 20, you could be 0 for 100, but, you know what I mean? It's just that one shot that matters. And, like I said, this is the biggest gripe I have for the whole thing, was I believe that KD should have held onto that ball and just said, everyone get out of my way. I'm going to do something with this, and I'm going to get a bucket, because that's what I do. But he didn't. He gave it up, and he gave it up to Clay, of all people, the guy who's been just as off as he was all night, and, had that bum leg, and he gave it up to Clay and essentially just threw the ball away, because there was nothing going for Clay. And this was the situation where they should have called timeout, because once it was obvious that Clay was stuck, because he got it, started dribbling, then he picked up his dribble and was trying to pivot around, and he tried to pivot into a turnaround jumper, but saw it wasn't there, and he got stuck. And once that happened, there was about, I think, like 8 or 7 seconds left on the clock at that point. Once that happens, then you call timeout. I saw Draymond Green was trying to call timeout, but it was too late. And then Clay just like pivoted, and then he just had to shoot it at that point. Turned up and threw up an ugly shot. And then boom, it looked like the game was, and missed, completely airballed it, and it looked like the game was over. But no, it wasn't over. It wasn't over, because the referees were looking at it, and Sean Livingston went over the back on Chris Paul. With 0.5 of half a second left on the shot clock, or on the game clock. Now, I know the Rockets were just saying, please, like, why? Seriously, just let us get out of here with this win, please. But no, refs reviewed it, had to play it out. Rockets were in the bonus, so Chris Paul to go shoot free throws. Chris Paul pretty lights out with the free throw shooting, and if you can't pick up on my tone, he missed it. He missed the first one. He missed the first one to make it a 2-possession game, to essentially seal the game. And so it's like, okay, you missed the first one, just miss the second one. It's easy. That's the easiest strategy. You miss the second one, it bounces off. They have no timeouts left, or they have a timeout, or I think. But they missed the second one, and they don't have enough time to call a timeout. or they have to heave up, you know what I mean? And they have to heave up a full court shot. Just miss that shot. But no, Chris Paul doesn't. He makes it. He makes the free throw. The Warriors get to call a timeout, and they get to inbound it from the side. So they had a full timeout unless they get inbound from the side, and they get to set up a good play. Why do you make that free throw, Chris Paul? I don't know why. You know what I mean? Just so many questions and so much going on. And then, like I said, that was just the story of the game. It was just both teams were completely off, and it was just who's gonna claw and struggle and survive this game. Who's gonna survive? And you know, the Rockets did their part. They tried to survive, and the Warriors had one last chance. They ran a beautiful, beautiful play, and Steph Curry, who was, had that hot third quarter, not so much in the fourth, but hot third quarter, and he was the hottest shooter of the night for the Warriors. Got an open look, a very, very open look. Go back and watch it. Look how clean that look is. It's as clean and it's, as clean a look as it's gonna be. And he gets it, turns around, and he bricked it, and that was the game. And like I said, I tweeted this also, as shocking and as intense and as crazy and all that stuff that was going on, as crazy and all that stuff as that fourth quarter was, especially in that last minute and those last 24 seconds, I think the most shocking thing was how Steph missed that shot. I can't believe he missed it. It was a clean look. It was very reminiscent of the shot in, I think, the 86 or 87 finals, when Larry Bird caught that wide open turnaround, and he missed it against the Lakers. It was, like I said, it was very, very reminiscent of that. And, and that was it. That was it. And that's how the Rockets won. It was crazy. Like I said, it was just, it was a weird game, a weird ending. And, like I said, and we've got a new series now, boys and girls. It's, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's a best of three. Rockets got the home court. Like I said, huge win for the Rockets, going back home with all this momentum. Like I said, it's just gonna get better from here. You know what I mean? And hopefully this goes 7. But yeah, like I said, I talked enough about the West game, but it's on this, and because the same thing kind of happened in the East. The Cavs and the Celtics. Another great game. It started out almost, I thought we were going to get an exact replay of game 1, or excuse me, of game 3 that we saw on Monday night, because the Cavs just came out firing just like they did in game 3. LeBron was hitting everything. Korver was knocking shots down. Tristan Thompson was making baskets. These guys were getting up there, but like I said, LeBron was dominating just like he was in game 3. And they finished the quarter out with a huge lead, 34-18, a bigger lead than they had in game 3. And like I said, it was like, oh shit, man, here we go again. It's all the same old. But the Celtics didn't give up. They kept on fighting, and like I said, we definitely, even though the Cavs won, I forgot to mention that earlier. The Cavs won. They tied the series up as well, 111-102. Good, solid win for the Cavs. So that way they keep momentum rolling when they got to go back to Boston. Boston's got home court advantage for the rest of the playoffs now. But like I said, they're going to need all the momentum they can. Like I said, it was a big win for them. But even though it was a big win for the Cavs, it was a big, I guess, on the part of the Celtics, it was a big kind of eye-opening moment, or big eye-opening game for them, because even though the first quarter was, like I said, an exact replay of what happened in the last game on Monday, they didn't let it get them down. They made their adjustments, and they won the rest of the game. They really did. If you go back, I can't think of the last time that's ever happened. So Cleveland had the lead, 34-18. after the first quarter. But for the rest of the game, Boston won all 3 quarters. It was 35-34 in the second, 23-21 in the third, and 26-22 in the fourth. So any other time they would have won this game. They would have stole one on the road, like I said, had all the moment, all that stuff going back into Boston. But this just that first quarter lead was just too much to overcome. And like I said, so even though they lost the game, like I said, they showed that, listen, like I said, they made their adjustments, just like the Cavs have, but they made their adjustments. And they said, they know, like I said, even though they lost, they know, like, all right, I think we got these motherfuckers now. We know what they're doing. We changed some things up, and we think we got it now. We think we got this. Like I said, we just minus, except for with the exception of one quarter, we had this game, and they're there. And if I'm the Celtics, I'm kicking myself for this game because, like I said, I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm kicking myself for this game because they had a lot of opportunities that they let get by them to make this a closer game and possibly even win this game. But in the back of their head, they're like, all right, we got this. We can make these. These are adjustments that we can make, and these are problems that we can fix going forward, especially with home field advantage or home court advantage, excuse me. But yeah, it's just and excuse me, the whole game, and this whole thing goes to it. The whole game, the rest of the game, it just felt like the Cavs kept making shots. Whether it was threes or it was layups or just they just felt like they were making all their shots, and it felt like the Celtics just kept missing. But every time you looked up or you checked the score, somehow the score kept getting closer. That lead just kept dwindling down. All of a sudden you looked up in the second quarter like, wait a minute, wasn't it like a 16-point lead? Isn't it? Now it's like at 13. Now it's and then you're like, okay, but then now it's like, oh shit, that's at 12. And you're like, wait a minute, now it's at 10. And then all of a sudden you're in the third quarter, like, hey man, it's single digits now. And like, oh shit, this is a pretty close game here. He's like, we got ourselves a 6-point lead, or there's only a 6-point lead now. And it just kept getting closer and closer. But like I said, just that first quarter deficit was too much to overcome. And the Celtics, like I said, it's just a little bit too late. And the Cavs came out on top. Like I said, a big win for them. And probably the quietest 44-point game in NBA history from LeBron. LeBron, just a monster game. He finished with, again, like I said, 44 points. He only had 5 boards and 3 assists. But just efficient isn't enough to describe his game. He was 17 for 28, 60% from the field. Jesus. Only hindrance was his 3-point shooting, 1 for 4. But like I said, that's part of probably what I was saying. It looked like the Cavs were making everything because LeBron literally was just pretty much making everything. Excuse me. He was, like I said, just lights out. And not only that, but also a tip of the cap to LeBron. He passed Kareem for the most field goals in postseason history. Just adding to the legacy. LeBron's already got a ton of other postseason records. I think he's got points and now field goals. I think he's got like steals too, maybe, or something like that, and just a bunch of crazy stats, crazy stats. And it wasn't just LeBron. He didn't get tremendous help, but he got enough, and he got enough help from his supporting cast again. Tristan Thompson, who was fucking horrible, absolutely horrible. All season long and in the beginning of this postseason, but in this whatever it was, I don't know if it's because he's playing the Celtics or whatever's going on, but he's just completely turned it around. Finished with 13 points, 12 boards, 6 for 10 from the field. Like I said, and it helped that he was getting a lot of good mismatches, which again something I'll talk about in a little bit. But he was getting a lot of mismatches and a lot of mouse in the house situations. And like I said, he 2 blocks. He's been great. again, with stuff that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet, disrupting the paint, setting good screens, switching, making good switches on defense and all that stuff. And he played well. Kyle Korver shot well. He finished with 14 points. Knocking down his threes. George Hill did well again. Again, after being completely quiet in the earlier part of this postseason, finished with 13 points as well. Excuse me. And even though Kevin Love too, even though he got in foul trouble, and didn't shoot that well, but he grabbed 11 key rebounds. He was, like I said, and making some the points that he did have were at the right times. The Cavs, like I said, it part of what made them blow out the Celtics in Game 3, and excuse me, and get that early lead in Game 1, or excuse me, in Game 4, was they figured out the mismatches. They got the right switches that they wanted, and they got into, like I said, the right mismatches that they wanted, and specifically with Tristan Thompson and LeBron, and transitioning into the Celtics and how they did, it worked for the Cavs. Like I said, it perfectly well in Game 3, and it helped them out a lot in Game 4. But the Celtics, after they realized this, really, like I said, mainly with LeBron, and mainly with Tristan Thompson, because like I said, if Tristan Thompson is getting buckets on you, then something's got to be wrong. But the Celtics, the biggest thing that they did was, the biggest change that they made was they minimized all the switching. Especially after, like I said, guys like LeBron and Tristan Thompson, even Kevin Love and stuff like that, they were taking advantage of their mismatches. A lot of people I'm seeing it, and rightfully so, they're singling out Terry Rozier. LeBron has had a lot of success when they switched the Rozier onto him. Obviously because LeBron is great and he's got the height advantage and the strength advantage and all that stuff, and plus because Rozier is so young. Tristan Thompson too. When they get Marcus Smart on him sometimes, or they figured out that they got the switches that they wanted, so they tried to just change the game plan, fight through the screens, stay on their guys, and let the help defense kind of figure it out. And like I said earlier, the Celtics, it looks like they kind of figured it out, at least defensively, but it was just a little too late, just a little bit too late. And like I said, they're gonna kick themselves over this loss, like big time. Especially, like I said, since it looks like they figured it out on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, the Celtics, man, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have a Celtics-like game. Everyone didn't shoot that well. Like I said, the box score looks great. If you look at it, anytime the box score looks pretty good, especially with the final score of 102 also, the box score looks great. 25 points for Jaylen Brown, 16 points for Rozier, 17 for Tatum, 15 for Big Al, and 10 for Marcus Morris. But that's really about it. And if you look at it, it's just their field goal percentage, man. Their field goal percentage is what killed them. Like I said, it looked like a lot of missed shots, a lot of missed shots. Al Horford, 5 for 13, Tatum 5 for 13 as well. Terry Rozier, 6 for 15. Jaylen Brown, 10 for 23. A couple of them being, garbage time shots. And like I said, just a lot of. It seemed like there was a lot of open, clean looks too that they were missing. Missed opportunities at the rim. I can specifically see, in my head, 3 or 4 missed layups. Jason Tatum had that missed dunk. I know it was contested, but he had that missed dunk. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do have the shot chart in front of me, and I can see at least 8 shots that are missed in the paint. At least 8 that are missed in the paint, and that's not counting the ones that are all kind of, mixed up in the down by the rim. I can see 2 or 3 down there. Like I said, that's a lot that are missed. You know what I mean? Down there, and they didn't make their free throws either. It was, free throws are free. That's, free throws are free. They were 76% from the line. Like I said, they're gonna be pissed off at themselves. They're gonna kick themselves over this loss. But these are all things that they can fix offensively. You know what I mean? They're going to be back at home. You know what I mean? They can clean up the shooting. They can clean up the misses around the paint. They can fix all that stuff. You know what I mean? They can do a better job there because and when they do, or if they do, and if they keep up that defensive, they stick to their defensive guns that they've figured out. At the end of that game 4, like I said, I think the Celtics will definitely make it more interesting again. But yeah, we've got another best of 3 now. Another best of 3. Celtics got the home court advantage in this one. But the Cavs have all the momentum. The Cavs got the momentum. And if LeBron can keep playing the way he's playing and getting the help that he can get, the help that he's been getting, I don't know how much home court advantage we'll have because it hasn't really worked in the past because LeBron has just tore his way through the East. Before with this same strategy, and like I said, it's gonna be interesting. And this is the kind of postseason that we all wanted. We wanted it to be competitive. Like I said, as much as blowouts are kind of fun, and for at least the winning team, it's not good overall basketball. These are great games. You know what I mean? These, especially that Rockets Warriors game. Now, if we can get a game like that stays that close. But with the Rockets and the Warriors firing on all cylinders like they were in the earlier games, like I said, we could be in for a hell of a postseason, hell of a playoffs, and just if that's the way it was, please let both series go 7 games, so we can just get all the quality hoops that we needed to make up for a lot of the bad hoops that we watched so far for these last couple of weeks, like I said, it's like I said, hopefully it can stay this way. Like I said, 2 huge games coming up tomorrow or tonight and tomorrow for in both series. But like I said, it's just I couldn't wait till Friday to talk about this stuff. I had to. Those games were just too good to let wait till the end of the week. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to get that out of the way, and quickly also just quick other hoop stuff while we're here. The NBA AllRookie Teams were announced, the first and second team. No arguments here on my end from the teams. First team, Ben Simmons on the Sixers, Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz, Jason Tatum on the Celtics, Kyle Kuzma, baby, Kuz from our Lakers, and Lauri Markkanen from the Bulls. Like I said, round up the first team. And on the second team, we had Dennis Smith from the Mavs, Lonzo Ball on the Lakers, Lonzo another Lakers representative, John Collins from the Hawks. It's not Boyan, it's Bogdan, right? I think I only wrote his last name. It's Bogdan, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Bogdanovich. It's pretty funny. That's like being named Jonathan or like Jacob Jacobson. Bogdanovich from the Kings, and Josh Jackson from the Suns round out the second team. And like I said, no arguments here from me. These are like I said, everything, the votes were all correct in my book. And hey, what do you know? The writers actually got some kind of voting right for once. but seriously, they better have, because it was a pretty easy call, especially with that first team. Simmons and Mitchell were unanimous decisions. They got, all first place votes. I think I saw something that's like that might be the only time, or this is the only time that's happened for 2 guys. It's happened before in the past for individual players, but like I said, I think it's the first time 2 people were voted unanimously. But like I said, Tatum, pretty easy call too. And those 3 guys, Simmons, Mitchell, Tatum, the 3 top vote getters are the top choices for NBA Rookie of the Year. So like I said, it only makes sense. But Kuzma, man. Kuzma for sure was definitely the biggest surprise. Marketing a lottery pick. I don't think anyone thought he was going to be especially great so far. Maybe a little bit more time, but like I said, he deserves it. But Kuzma, a guy who fell, as far down the line as he did, especially being relatively unknown as he was, especially being on the same team as Lonzo, who was supposed to have a lot of noise. And like I said, Lonzo played great this season. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, his numbers could have been better, obviously, but he's a rookie. He's only 19. And on top of that, the most impressive part to me about Lonzo's season was how he was able to keep his head on straight the whole time with, all the shit from his dad, all the shit that he was getting from the media besides his dad, but there's all kinds of stuff going on. And for him to just keep his head on straight and keep his cool, like I said, was the most impressive thing and deserves all rookie accolades just based on that alone. But yeah, again, Kuzma just big breakout, the breakout rookie this season for sure. And like I said, well deserved for Kuz. And yeah, well deserved for the rest of these guys, all these guys. You know what I mean? So that was the rookie teams, and then also just finally the WNBA is back. I forgot to mention this on Monday, but the WNBA is back. You know what I mean? So go show these ladies some love, and you know what I mean, and watch some of these games. They play just as well as the men do. Trust me. I don't watch as much as I should. I know that, but anytime I'm just scrolling, flipping through, and I'll see that the women's game is on, WNBA is on. I'll watch. I'll stop and watch, and like I said, it's just as good. Sure, they don't dunk. You know what I mean? But whatever, like I said, it's good. They play the game just as well as the men do, just without the dunks. So, but like I said, and if you need your hoops fix, once the NBA schedule dwindles down, it eventually goes away after the season's done. Like I said, the WNBA is a great substitute for that. And like I said, I just go ahead and watch it. It's back. You know what I mean? So, and here in the LA area, go watch your Sparks. Let's go. If anyone wants to catch the Sparks, guys, let me know. I'm always down. So I'm always a big fan of the Sparks. And listen, I was at the game when Lisa Leslie dunked. I was at the game. That was one of the things that I claim to my fame, is that I was at the game when Lisa Leslie dunked. And I know it wasn't some big flashy windmill, East Bay funk or anything like that, but it was a dunk nonetheless. It was the first time it happened in the game, and I'm proud to say I was there and to witness a piece of history. It was pretty freaking crazy. But yeah, I said go watch the WNBA. Congrats to all the all rookie team selections, and thank God the playoffs are where they should be right now, and everyone's playing good playoff basketball. But that's going to do it for me today on this special Wednesday Hoops Only edition. And yeah, thank you for listening. Like always, if you like what you heard, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that bullshit. Do all that stuff for me, please. Subscribe anywhere you can listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, like wherever. Like I said, wherever else you can find them on those random ones that are floating out there. Check that out. YouTube also. You know what I mean? And if you got any suggestions for me, if you want to come on and talk with me about anything, if you just want to say what's up or anything like that, you got anything to say to me, you can, hit me up on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, all that stuff. Just get at me however you can. It's Brown Mamba Radio, my personal one, JXCKSXNNN. Hit me up on any of those. I'm there. Like I said, drop me a line. Yeah, like I said, thanks for listening. I'm going to get out of here now. I'll check back with you guys on Friday. Hopefully the games tonight and tomorrow are just as good as what we've watched for the first part of this week. And like always, don't forget, don't just have a good week, make it a good week. The weekend's almost here. Just hang in there. Health is wealth. Drink more water. Please be nice to everybody. It's easy to be nice. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.